Stupid B parks in front of my driveway and gets instant karma. So there's a garage on the left-hand side of my house where I park my car and a driveway in front of it so the car can get inside. It's exactly like any other garage and it is part of my property, yet some people feel that they're entitled enough to park just anywhere, including right in front of my driveway. M equals entitled mom. Me equals me. C equals entitled child. It starts off when I'm about to go to the convenience store to get snacks and I notice there's a car literally parked right smack in the middle of my driveway. There's no way my car could possibly get around and I wasn't having any of it. So I yelled, "Who the owns this car?" and started blasting my horn. It took a while for someone to finally react and it just so happened to be the entitled who owned the car. Apparently she was a mom of 2 kids and she kept reminding me of that while I was arguing with her. M. What are you doing making noise? My kids are trying to sleep. Me. I apologize, miss, but some asshole decided it was a good idea to park right in front of my driveway. M. Yeah, that's my car. The spot I normally park in was taken by one of the neighbors and that was the only place I could park. Now at first I actually felt sympathy for this woman. She had kids and everything, and she wasn't wrong about the car taking up her spot because one of my other neighbors had a party celebrating their niece's quinceanera and the neighborhood was packed with cars and she didn't have a driveway of her own, so she had to park somewhere on the street. So I decided to calm down and nicely ask her to move her car, but instead of accepting my generosity, she decides to keep arguing with me. M. I am not moving my car, it's late and I have to make sure my children get to bed. Keep in mind it was only about 8:30 at the time, it wasn't late at all for her to move her car. Me. I can't get my car out of here when you're parked in the driveway, I'm asking you again to please move your car. M. What could you possibly be doing this late at night that requires you to drive somewhere? Me. I'm just headed to the convenience store to get. M. I don't care what you're getting, you can wait until tomorrow to get your stuff. She was really getting on my nerves. I got ready to raise my voice, but then I had an idea. So I reply with okay. And walk back inside my house. When I looked back I saw she had that "yeah, I totally showed him" look on her face. I tried not to get pissed off at that as I reached for the phone and called the police. I explained the situation and a few minutes later a tow truck arrives. The car was in fact illegally parked, and so it was impounded. The next day, early in the morning I get a knock on my door. Obviously it's the mother. Her kids were standing next to her. She immediately starts yelling at me as soon as I open the door. Apparently she was going to take her kids to an amusement park, and now that they didn't have a car, there's practically no way for them to go. As soon as she tells me that I immediately chuckle, which pisses her off even more, meanwhile her kids are crying. EC. Mommy. I really want to go. Me being the insensitive asshole I point at the kid and let out a big ha. Which causes him to start screaming like a banshee. The mom starts yelling at me saying how much of a monster I am. I just reply with "get a cab" and slam the door in her face. I may or may not have been a little too harsh, but that family of idiots got what they deserved. Entitled family abandons dog citing a made-up reason. EM screams bloody murder when I restrict visitation rights. So the obligatory "this happened 7 years ago." I used to volunteer at an animal shelter when I was in high school. Where I am from, shelters overflow, and the adoption coordinators take in and give away dogs with just a signature, no questions asked. Just to add, I love dogs more than life itself. This is especially why this story still makes me rage. Scotty was a big black lab. A 7-year-old gentle giant. All he would ever want from anyone would be a few pets, maybe a belly rub. I met him, the best dog I ever knew, in the worst circumstance possible. He was being abandoned by his family. Enter EM, EF and EK. EM, 40, almost tearfully claimed that there is no way they can keep Scotty anymore. EF, late 40s, has just gotten a job in Australia and the family must relocate. They have no financial means to take the dog. I was just a volunteer, so I saw as the shelter manager sighed as she processed him into the shelter. The dog has no idea what was happening to him, he just wagged his tail. The entitled family dropped him inside and suspiciously, without a tearful goodbye, left him at the door. Now the shelters in my country are not like those you have in the West. They are basically a free-for-all, a big area in which dogs are just tied, some roam loose. It's absolute hell, so we try to love the dogs enough to make up for the lack of infrastructure. Now back to Scotty. It has been 2 days and he wouldn't budge from the spot that his family had left him. He would hear footsteps and wag his tail just to be disappointed. He wouldn't eat. He was the saddest dog I had ever seen. I would sit next to him and he would just put his head on my lap and sigh. I couldn't bear it. I took him home. It took him 2 weeks to become happy from depressed. He also had a ton of medical issues, his liver was giving out. I wondered why his ex-family hadn't told us he was this unwell. One day, the shelter got a call. It was the entitled family asking if they could visit Scotty. Red flag 1. They had to urgently relocate, why hadn't they left yet? I told them politely that Scotty needs some time to get used to his new house. EM told me EK, 10, has been crying for him and wants to see him. I agreed. They came to my house to meet him. Scotty was ecstatic. He was almost ready to leave with EK. What was funny to me was, the EM and EF sat in the car, while EK went up to pet him and take pictures with him on his phone. He didn't seem emotional and spent about 10 minutes with the dog. This happened 2 to 3 times until I decided it was taking too much of a toll on Scotty. Every time they left it started all over again. Scotty was sad, depressed, wouldn't eat. I promised myself I'd let him forget those people. They had now started calling me every other week and I asked them when they're going to Australia. This has been translated into English, so please bear with me. Me. When are you guys leaving though? EM. That's none of your business. Me. Well, Scotty's well-being and emotional state is my business. So I can't let you guys meet him again. He doesn't eat for a week after you guys leave. EM. Hahaha, what emotional state? He's just a dog. Listen to yourself. Me. And you didn't even tell us he had a liver problem. M. It's just a dog, can you calm the F down? Me. You are not allowed back in my home. EM. Okay, then send the dog back to the shelter. That way EK can go see him now and then without it being such a hassle. Me. Excuse me? This is his house now. EM. F you, B, and she hangs up. So during this time, my dad was in palliative care at home for last-stage lung cancer. The house was to be kept quiet to keep my dad comfortable. Scotty would always stand guard outside my dad's room. The doorbell starts ringing frantically. I go to open the door. And barges EK and EM vomiting some rant about how it's her right to meet her dog and pushing the kid to go pet the dog. Scotty was right outside my dad's room, who he had grown very protective of. Now this dog has never barked, he has whimpered at the most. He sees EK and EM charging towards my dad's room and barks so loud, EM and EK are taken aback. I almost cried out of pride for this boy. He knew who family was, finally. He growled a little and settled back down in front of my dad's room. Not even a tail wagged their way. They left and never returned. As of 2019, they've never gone to Australia. Pretty sure his liver ailments, which he passed away from a couple of years later, made them think of him as too much of a liability.